Sawtooth Dave, what's up, y'all? So this is kind of like in front of what you're going to see here in a second, but I started to do another detent video. It's supposed to be like, basically a continuation of the detent one I did last week, that Evo. I was going to do that Chupacabra, which I had mentioned a few weeks ago that I was going to do. It just didn't, it turned into a lot more than what I anticipated to start with. So it actually turned into almost 30-minute video. So instead of doing like my normal sit down in here and kind of BS with you, this is going to be a longer form. You're going to have stream of conscious in the middle of it. I'm figuring it out on the fly as we're going. So, it's an experiment, I guess, for me to try to like put all this together. Y'all said you wanted to see more like it, so we're going to do more like it. But before we do that, it's never happened to me before, but no one claimed, Mary didn't claim the prize. So I'm assuming it's probably one of those, claiming it or jumping in the giveaway kind of things, which is fine, but it's just never happened to me that someone didn't claim the giveaway. So I guess the channel's got big enough now where people just jumping in for giveaways that aren't really here for the channel. I thought burying it 30 minutes in the video would probably be a good idea to get rid of those people, but once the word's out, I guess the word's out. So we're gonna redraw. But cool enough is a couple guys didn't make it in the draw last time, so I'm gonna flip the camera around. We're gonna shuffle again. We're gonna draw us another winner. All right, so same list, same everything I used last week. Crossed off Mary's name. At the bottom here, you'll see Will, Grumpy, and Jeremy, which missed out last week before I draw. And I assigned them different kings. Hope you can read that. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can find your name. See, I added a couple at the end. Same list, right? Same people. Let me go back out one time. So I'm gonna turn this sideways so you can keep reading if you want to read or see who wants to read. So it's the same deck as last week. I ain't have it all spread out, but it's the same Harley deck. Just gonna add these older cards. You can see they're older because they're all bicycle brand, but they're the blue instead of the Harley on the back, right? Other than that, like, I'm gonna turn my head and draw like I did last week. Cut the deck and draw. So we're just gonna shuffle a little bit, but kind of weird. This is the first time it's ever happened like this. That I'm gonna step on the side over here. So sorry about the dogs in the background. It's that time of day where they're raising hell and doing their thing, and Sherman's still kind of he's like not quite 10 months old right now, so he wants to hump everything around too. So they're acting a fool. But anyhow, highly and I encourage people to do mods, and you'll see in this video that the kind of mods went a little crazy, or it came from the manufacturer that way. I meant to show some more of that, or talk more about that in the time. Like Paul's starting to do a bunch of acid stone work and detent mods and that sort of thing. I highly encourage that. So I think it's Paul. What's your Instagram? Because I think it's Paul Mills, but correct me if I'm wrong. But he's doing a bunch of stuff like that, and I always try to encourage people like that. If you ever need anything help-wise, like, reach out to somebody, not just me, but there's other people that do way better job than me as far as mod stuff goes. But it just steps up the game of, I don't know, collecting a little bit more to me, and like you kind of get more involved, and I don't know, just like another level, right? Like learning how to grind, like sorry about my poor shuffling skills here. Learning how to grind has definitely changed how I view a lot of knives and what I would do, and just it changed a lot of that stuff. So I imagine, Nick, the further I go into actually making folders, the more I'm going to change as far as that goes. But I think we all have different standards we like to go to, or whatever. I just think like learning how to do more with knives enhances your knife experience, in my opinion, anyhow. All right, so I'm gonna shuffle one more time. I'm turning my head. Hopefully you can hear in the audio that I'm actually not paying attention or looking the other way. I'll turn it over. I'm just gonna cut the deck right here. This top card right here is going to be it. So what is this? King of Spades, and this is the old King of Spades. So one of those new guys just won. And who is this that won? Let's see. Who is the King of Hearts? Oh, Grumpy. Grumpy's now the winner. Hopefully you can see that. Let me zoom in here. So right here, Grumpy Grunt, old King of Spades, right? You the winner, bro. All right. All right, so the audio is probably going to suck, but I don't feel like hooking everything else up. So I'm on this Old Dominion. We're going to talk about detent stuff again. So this one has this problem. So at this outward position, it's a normal detent, but it's super spongy on the way in. And that basically, and I'll take it apart and show you and make more details. They have one stop pin. See if I can show you this real close. Like, see if I can focus right there. All right, so if you're looking right here, if you see the blade moving, it's basically rolling on this. Hopefully you can see that. See the blade moving on the stop pin? So basically there's not enough flatness for this pin to work as an adequate stop because it's rolling over. So I could try to increase the size of this one to make this play up, but essentially it's rolling on that pin. So I don't think that's really going to be the solution for this one. If you look at the lockout on that one, that pin being the lockout, about 50%. I think I showed this before, but it's about 50% lockup. So it could use less, you know, a bigger pin would lock up less if you get somewhere in this area. I personally like it when it's like this. Me personally, I like 50% lock. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy about it. So what I think I'm gonna do, instead of modifying this pin, is put another one basically in the backside to hit further back up in the blade, back up in here. Let's see if I can show you. So this flat spot that's back here, I'm just gonna put another pin back in there. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult on this one compared to normal knives because these scales are contoured, so I can't just put this down on something, hold it flat, drill a hole. And you can see he drilled his hole from this side to locate this one from that. So it's gonna be a little tricky doing. I'll probably do something similar to what he did here, is like pilot drill it with a smaller size and then come back with a bigger size and make it work. And I kind of sort of have an idea how to do it, but it's going to be a little bit tricky on the machine shop side of it. So I'm going to do that first, and I'll come back and show you what we got for results. Maybe I should just take this thing apart. Hang on, let me pull it apart to see if it makes more sense. All right, so we're kind of back now. You can kind of sort of see everything exploded on here. This is a Damascus backspacer, so it uses the washers to kind of make the difference up. This one has, it looks like skiff bearings. We're already in this one. They normally come with like the Delrin style with ceramic bearings in them. This does have pivot collars. I don't know what kind they are. Inlay. So for anybody that hadn't seen what an Old Dominion looked like all blowed apart, this is pretty much it. So let me see if I can make this make sense so that everybody can tell what I'm trying to say. This will probably make sense when it's open like this. Obviously it has to be pressure here, but let's see if I can get it to focus real quick and zoom in a little bit. All right, so sitting on the detent like this. So this is where it would normally sit. Like I could feel it on the back side with this detent. And you can see I can push it. See how it's rolling on that pin? It's not staying put, so a bigger diameter is really not going to fix this roll issue, right? But if I come back, and I'm just going to use this as an example, and I put another pin right next to it, behind it right here. So it's hitting that positive stop so it can't roll. That's what the goal on this one is. I've seen it on quite a few Old Dominions, but they tend to go past that roll point, and you can see this shiny spot on the backspacer. It's where the blade has hit it, you know, getting pushed in. You can see right where it would hit, right? So if you ever see an Old Dominion that's got that line or that shiny spot on it, either way you got, that's pretty much what is happening, is the blade's going past that stop pin. So I've seen it on quite a few Old Dominions now. I fixed it on, I think, one of Chris's. Let me see if I can get it focused again. Sorry, guys. You see it on quite a few Old Dominions, at least I have. So it's kind of sort of a flaw from design. There it is right there. You get that much movement. So let's see if we can't fix it. It's going to be a little tricky on the machine shop side, so probably not going to show you that stuff. Just come back when it's fixed, hopefully. Before I go in the shop, I just wanted to show you, because, you know, as I'm going through here, seeing things, I just want to point out some things. So 3/16 pivot, which, you know, for a bruiser is not satisfactory to me personally. I probably will do something with that. So this might be a multiple procedure. I might fix the detent issue first and then come back and do all this other stuff, but I may wait to the end. I don't know. This isn't actually a detent ball. This is a detent post. Let's see if we can make it seen here. I'm gonna try to focus in real good right here, so bear with me half a second. You see that's not a ball? Can you see that? It's a piece of shank put in there that's been rounded over on the top. So it was round like this. I mean, cylindrical like this, and then he just crowned the top of it. It's an odd size, and that's what immediately, you can see it now. See how it's just been balled over at the end right there? looks like it's done with a file. So I'm assuming this is probably not from Old Dominion. Probably someone else did this, trying to make the detent better. But clearly you can see in the hole in the blade, very similar to that one I did last week, where it looks funky around the outside of it, right? See how funky that is on the outside of it? So someone's messing around with this. I don't think it came from the factory this way, but it could have. But I just wanted to point those out as we're seeing flaws from the custom knife end of it. I don't know, maybe I should contact Casey, but I don't know. I'm kind of in the mood of modifying, so maybe I'll just modify it. We'll see. And the hits keep getting better. All right, so you can see all that around the detent ball. Hopefully you can see all this around the detent ball. You see how it's chamfered on the top of it? It looks like it's done like uneven, so it leans towards where the detent track is, but even on this back side you can kind of see it a little bit too. Hopefully this all makes sense to you. So detent hole has definitely been monkeyed with. Someone cut in a ramp. So here's your ramp right here. So every time I see a detent ball that's cut deep into the lock face, so it's this direction too much, it always lets me know that it's pretty much not done by a professional. Or if it is, the professional is not very mechanically inclined, because the depth of this detent post, so you can see it sticking up right there, won't hit the bottom of this at all, right? Even if it's the lock bar sitting here, so the only thing sticking down is going to be the height of that detent post going on this right here. So the most detent ball, so if this hole was drilled, this is a 0.75 hole, so it's drilled for 0.78 ball size, which is only half that diameter, which is 30 thou. So it should only come from this edge in, maybe at the most 35 thou to start the ramp. And you can see how much this one's cut in. Maybe you can't, maybe you can't. Let's see if I can give you about an estimate. So this is just looking through the camera too, so bear with me here. I'm just guesstimating here. Somewhere about that thickness. 91 thousandths. So they went into this 91 thousandths. That's 3 times more than they needed to come in here. 30 thousandths is the most from this edge down that you'd ever want to go to even make a ramp. Personally, this is not a knife that I think needs a ramp, but this is what was done to it. I doubt seriously this was done by Old Dominion, so I'm guessing this has already been modified a pretty good bit. Opening this and finding all these issues, I definitely have a lot of issues to fix here at once, so this may not get done all at once, but then again, I might sit down and just do it all. But I just wanted to show you that it's not always like what you get from the factory. If I hadn't known what Old Dominion does and saw this, I would think Old Dominion does shit work, but it's not. It's not their work. I almost guarantee it that it's not their work. But anyway, just figured I'd show you. All right, so I figured I'd just stop. I need to give general thoughts, I think, because this turn from, you know, drilling a ream in a hole and putting a pin in it to, which was going to be tricky enough because of the way it was laid out, to pretty much rebuilding this whole thing. And looking at it, like, there's several issues, and you kind of got to start at one point and move forward. So my biggest hang up right now is, as I was going through and looking at this blade, I figured while we have problems, we might as well do an inspection on it and see what else we found, right? So your flatness of your blades always matters. Like, can you get away with a couple thou out of parallel? Sure, there's ways to hide that kind of thing. But so I'm getting between here and over here, I'm getting up to 5 thou difference between the flatness of this. So personally, I'm not really super happy with that. I think I can do a better job getting it flatter than that. Maybe not with the equipment I have, but in general, like I want it to get it as flat as possible before I even do something. So this blade is right now like between 242 and 247, so not quite a 1/4 inch thick, really close, but not quite a 1/4 inch thick. Does that spacing really mean anything? Not really, especially because, you know, the Damascus backspacer was holding the backside. So basically the distance, this has to be even, right? And then you also have to do it with the pocket depth of, you know, how deep in you're going for your bearings, for the bearing size and that sort of thing. And the way he's cut his, as close to the lock face as it is, the diameter here, as close to the lock face. If you go a bigger diameter, it could impede on the lock bar coming in. Hopefully this makes sense.
see how close that lock bar is, the cutout is to the actual hole. So if you look at this counter bore on the outside, it's a 1/2 inch counter bore on the outside. You can see that if I put a 1/2 inch bearing in there, which is what most of my 1/4 inch pivot hole size bearings are, like 7/16, you can see I'm going to be into the bearing doing it that way. So there's a lot of issues here, man. So I honestly don't know how to approach this. Do I just put the pin in and fix the problem that was there, leave all the rest of it? I don't know, man. Like these when I get situations like this is what makes me kind of wonder. So I'm all about modding knives, like y'all know. If you don't already, I highly encourage you modding knives. And some of it is like a little bit of an experiment to figure out what you got to do and that sort of thing. But when you get in the mechanicals of the knife, I highly encourage you to modify your own. But when you get ready to get rid of it, when you disclose, you need to disclose these kind of things. Like every knife that I've sold that I've changed the bearing, the detent ball to a ceramic versus a steel, I mention that because someone knows I've been in there, I've messed around. This is not the maker's work anymore, especially on the custom end of things. This is a custom knife, so like I know my bro Jose didn't know any of this. He probably never pulled the knife apart. I'm guessing he never pulled it apart. He just knew that it had a detent issue and wasn't happy with it. So I don't know who owned it before him and who modified it before them, whatever the case may be. But once it's been modified, like you probably need to tell the potential next buyer what you've done so they know. Like if this came from the factory like this or from the maker like this, then I would never ever buy another product from them. Personally, me. Like, and so some of these issues to me, like the 3/16 pivot, if I have a 1/4 inch blade, the pivot has to be at least 1/4 inch. That's me personally. Like, it's just how I think. Like, the part that the metal moves around has to be at least as thick as the thickness of the blade. I think that mechanically makes more sense. This is a 3/16 blade. I can see you can get away with it, but I've seen more than him do it. That RSK Orca that I had a while back, that was a 3/16 pivot. Like, those are immediately like, like, did you think this through, or was this just an art knife for you? Like, you know, at a certain point, I could kind of see it, but I don't remember my old Chupacabras being 3/16 pivot. Maybe they were, and I just don't remember right. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they're a 1/4 inch. So he had to have laid this out and done this differently than most of the 1/4 inch that he's already doing, or most of the Chupacabras that he's already doing. So, you know, I guess this is the part where I'm like, I don't know. What would you do? I'm torn because like I could really honestly put that pin back in there and probably make it okay. I'm still never gonna. I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna be happy with a 3/16 pivot in it. But I could disclose it to the next guy if I was gonna get rid of this. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. So I guess I'm gonna stop right here because I'm just kind of like trying to think of what to do when I'm talking to you guys. You guys being the camera here or the phone. It's a cool knife. It could be a really cool knife if I rebuilt it the right way and did it the right way. I don't know, man. Like, I'm just torn here. So, I don't know. Stop it here. All right, we'll see what happens.
All right, so continuing on. You know I can't leave nothing alone, so I went ahead and I got a rotary table for the mill, so it makes it a little easier to do what I want to do. But I punched it out to a 1/4 inch because I couldn't stand that 3/16 pivot. It did leave it a little thin back here, both on this one and the lock side here. It's thin as far as that goes, but I was trying to find a bearing. So it was stock was 0.62.5 or 1/16 bearings. So I'm just trying to make it work with what I had. So I had some skiff thick washers, these are 1 millimeter, which is basically 40 thou. And then I had some 15 thou. So it's like 3 thou off from what it should be, which, you know, you want the perpendicularity as close as you can get it, but we're just working what we got right now. So I mean, not like I couldn't get more bearings or something, but right now I'm just mocking it up with this basically a fat washer inside the blade, and then I'm putting, it's actually a hinder nylon on top of it, which is 15 thou. Same spacers I'm using in the back, so it should be a little bit of taper. I will measure it here in a minute, but the reason I want to show you this is why you can't always make a bigger stop pin and get away with it. Now, I haven't said this. I tried a technique. We're about to find out if it works or not, but I tried a technique instead of drilling the exact same hole as where it was. I tried to basically take this 1/4 inch hole that I just put in there and shift it this way just a little bit. And I'll show you why here in a second, if it works. The detent nub stub, I hadn't figured that out at all yet. We're basically starting over from where we were. I just wanted to do this order of operation wise first, because if this changes position at all, it's going to throw off everything else I have. So might as well do this first and then move from there. So may or may not leave this that way, and but the next step is pretty much figuring out stop pin open and close and make sure it works fine, and then detent next. So while y'all are with me, let's throw this thing back together. I did have it prepped with these screws because they're a pain in the butt, so bear with me a half a second while I line everything up here. I don't want to lose washers and whatnot. This thing can be somewhat of a pain to line up. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about here or not. I'll show you in a second if I can't articulate it right. I'm trying to hold these screws, start things, so it's not exactly the easiest project. It's probably not the easiest thing to watch either, but the struggle is real. So there is a way to, and I can reuse the stock pivot collars. I'm just choosing not to right now because I'm basically just mocking it up to try to make everything else work. So cool, those screws work. All right, so basically, hopefully this works out like you see here in a second. To keep everything in line, basically you normally would just ream all the way through everything. This being hardened steel, I couldn't just drill it and ream it because it's hardened. So you can't just go cut it with a regular drill. So that's why I did the offset like I was saying. But I just offset the blade. These other pieces, the titanium, I left exactly the same way. So lockout on the stop pin, engagement's about the same. So if what I did was right and I offset it this way just enough, when I close this, this should, there you go, perfect. All right, yes, excellent, it worked. So by offsetting the hole this way just a little bit, I'm sorry, yeah. So when I offsetting it this way makes it distance here, or sorry, I'll offset it that way. It makes it longer so that it's hitting the stop pin now. You see it can't quite close and it's still open. So now what I can do is come back in here with a Dremel and cut that transversely. But what I also had a problem with is, I don't know if you can see that right there, I felt it when I was closing it. So now it's hitting right here at the edge of the blade. So I'll probably have to relieve the little bit of it on the blade and then come back in here and cut this little groove. So that's where we're at right now. Still working it, but it's a 1/4 inch pivot now, so I feel better, warm and fuzzy about it now. So may or may not either use the pivot collars or choose to use bigger hardware in general, but we'll get to the bottom of that. Just work in progress here. All right, so we're gonna try to show you, articulate this a little bit easier so y'all can understand. I'm gonna actually flip this around this way so you can see it better this way, so you can see what I'm looking at here. So these screws are just lovely. You see how I can move this around. The spacer's not in there, but basically you just center it somewhere in there, and then we'll roll this back around here so you can see my blade's in the blade's inside the frame, so that's good. The tip's inside the frame, and you can see right here, hopefully you can see right here, it's just slightly more of a gap than it was. I'm gonna zoom in real quick so y'all can see what I'm talking about. So you see how it's just a little bit. So now what I can do is come in here and basically cut a semicircle, you know, in here, so that the detent will sit without rocking. So it still worked functionally because I didn't change in and out. So functionally it worked coming back on the back side. It probably is hitting slightly lower in this because I offset this way towards the spine of the knife. So if you think about it, if you move the hole this way, it drives everything that way. That's basically what I did. Just create a little bit more meat right here when I cut this hole in this blade. And it's not really affecting these counterbores that are in here for where the bearing pockets, because they were already oversized anyhow. Basically the washers that went in were like $375 and they were cut like 400 thou, so around there somewhere, 393, something like that. So anyway, I had play, so that's why I did what I did. But you can see the thinness. So if you can see how thin that is now back in here, and why you can't use a bigger washer, because then it's going to interfere with that lock bar travel coming in when the washer's on the inside, right? So I had to be really careful. That's why I went with the nylon, basically to show you. You see that nylon even overhangs a little bit. but it's nylon, and you can see the lock bar cut out. It's got that circular cut on in it, so it just barely sneaks by it. So we got lucky in that regard. So next step now will be to fit this pin for the stop position, and what I might have to do is fit this first and then come back and relieve this backspacer so that the actual tip goes inside of it and doesn't stop. We'll see what it is, but I want to fit this first, and then I'll worry about coming back with the detent, try to do something with the detent. So I got a feeling I'm either going to be plugging and re-drilling a hole or plugging this and re-drilling the blade. So I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but just another try to articulate thing. All right, quick update. I got everything put back together, but it's just for test fit. Like, obviously I don't have the collars in here still, but the first thing I mentioned was the relief for that from this blade tang to the stop pin. So you can see now we just got enough. I probably rolled over on this face a little bit more than I needed to, but I just wanted to make sure we had enough clearance. You can see now we got just enough clearance to sneak by that pin without any interrupting at all. And then on the lockout, you can see it's good. Sorry, no you can't. Now you can see it's good. So the same as it was before. You can see this little notch I got cut in here now. So now when it hits the stop pin, it's relieved a little on this back side, but then it locates solid. So it's after it's there, I'm pushing on it now. It's solid as hell. It's not going anywhere. You can also see that if you realize what the stock Chupacabra stop somewhere about in here, and that's what it looks like for a stock Chupacabra. Like this curve and that curve almost match. I dropped mine all the way down in there. By doing that, I had to relieve that backspacer, and it has just enough clearance in here right now. I'm gonna open it up so you can see it. So I had to take meat off this whole thing. You see that line right there? That's the bolt. Oh, you can't see it, but the bolt right here, it goes all the way through the whole thing. That's it breaking into that hole, and you see it's pocketed here at the end. I kind of just did that with the Dremel. Maybe point it out with a file here if you can't make it out. So back up in here, it's just relieved with the Dremel. I need to do just a hair bit more right here in this very tip with the file. But as of right now, you not be able to see it. It's gonna be hard as hell to see, but dropping all the way into here. Let's see if I can make it where you can see it. There you go, you can kind of see it right there. It just barely clears right there at the tip. You can see all that relief on the inside. I don't know if you can tell on the inside where the blade is, but it's got just enough pocket where it's nice and deep in there. And now this line kind of just intrudes out, so like I like it being a little more closed like that. But right now it's running on Teflon. Let me back out just a second here. Running on Teflon, function fine. Well, it's Teflon and phosphor bronze, I guess. I'm probably going to go all phosphor bronze on this one. The space is actually pretty close, so it's within a couple thou. You know, you check the space in here where the pivot is, and then go back to the back and check the width to make sure that this part of the frame and this part of the frame are exactly the same width. That's pretty much what I've done at this point. But at this point, you know, you can see I've done work here and done work in the back spacer, and I kind of rolled over with a Dremel and scratched it up, I don't know, somewhere back in here. So I'll probably have to refinish the whole thing anyhow. Some of the titanium, you can see where I used aluminum clamps when I was clamping it down. So pretty much everything at this point needs to be refinished, which is good with me because I'm actually thinking about maybe doing a regrind at it while I was at it. So, you know, I might do that too. We'll see. But it's coming along. Obviously the detent's not there yet, and I think what we're gonna have to do there, I'm pretty much almost assured, is basically where the hole was on the blade here, which you can't quite see. I was hoping you'd be able to sneak through and see that, but wherever the hole is, I gotta basically machine it oversized, push a new piece of stainless in there, hardened stainless, and then redrill the hole for the detent ball and put a new detent in it. And that's probably what we're gonna have to do. I might have to mill a track because the ball that goes in this is probably gonna be way bigger than what this gap is in here. So I'll probably have to do something, otherwise the lock bar will be flexing out, which you don't want it to do that. So I don't know. We'll explain that when we get to it, but there's a quick update. All right, so hopefully we're finishing up, at least for this now. I'm gonna zoom in, excuse the cat butt right there. This is zooming on in. All right, so the final mechanical installment, I guess, of this is, so instead of trying to repair this detent hole, basically the hole in this was so big, and the blade where the detent hole and the blade was both messed up. I just decided to, after thinking about it, just to replace the detent. So where they placed the detent was for this further back hole, so I just went a little bit further. So now basically when you unlock the knife, let me pull it up in here. So when you unlock the knife, you're already on the detent ball right there. So it's not that as late as it was before. That's probably why they did the ramp. But you can see now it's got decent detent. It's not great because it's a little, let's see if I can show you. It's not really gonna suck it in because the detent's not, there it goes. It's not a super great detent, super strong wise, but this knife, the thumb studs being this close to the pivot and this end, like you don't want a super strong detent anyhow. Not gonna be able to deploy it that well. I will make this dual studs, but for now, as far as like the functionality of it, it functions like it should. 1/4-inch blade now, and I fixed every issue that I had to start with when I first came in. But looking at the knife, you can tell in the closed position it's further down. But other than that, no shake, nothing like that. Everything fits and functions like it should. So call this one a win. All right, that's it for the Old Dominion, the Super Chupa. All right, so to sum everything up, this project was, obviously you saw the videos, it was a lot more involved than just taking the knife apart and doing what I initially thought was just a detent fix, you know, maybe a possible stop pin. So I'm gonna refinish this stuff. I might, I don't know, I might just leave it as is because it's got some battle scars on it now from, you know, work on it and stuff like that. But nothing too major, like it wouldn't hurt to use it as is. But I don't know, I probably will refinish it eventually. I'm just kind of tired of dealing with it right now at this point. You know, not what I expected when I opened it up, but being all said and done, it's on a phosphor bronze now, which if you've ever handled a Chupacabra, the bearings they use are the narrow bearings, so it's a super fast action. So quite honestly, I kind of like it better. I mean, still, I just tightened it up a second ago. It don't drop or nothing, but man, for phosphor bronze, I'm actually pretty impressed with how good this handles action wise. But yeah, definitely a can of worms I opened up when I started this one. But hopefully I didn't get too like technical, because like, you know, it's like watching Knife Steel Nerds, the stainless forge video he just did. Like, if you don't forge stainless, it's like the video is kind of a lot of information that doesn't apply, or you don't have any application to put it to, so it's kind of dry. So hopefully this wasn't dry. I know it's a 30-minute video, but it's not even Sunday yet, so I'll probably sit down to the intro Sunday. But other than that, the rest of this one's going to be like throughout the whole week when I had time. So hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you have a great week. Oh yeah, we're going to do the redraw, the giveaway, because no one claimed it, so it's gonna be longer than 30 minutes. This probably will be another 45-minute video. Oh well, we'll do that. I'll probably do it at the beginning in the intro tomorrow morning. Yeah, let's do that.